Good. I see we are live. Welcome, YouTube, to our discussion. Today, we are talking about poverty, but not in a general sense, because we've had this discussion before on poverty. We're looking at causes, solutions on a general level. Today, we are looking at it from a particular angle. The question is, are the poor to blame for their lot? Where did this question come from? It actually came from a trending topic on TikTok, on Kenyan TikTok. There's a gentleman called Microblading by Sparky, not Spunky. To spunk means a totally different thing. So that guy, he normally posts videos deriding the poor. He hates poor people. He thinks they have a character flaw, a personality misnomer, and he's always looking down on them because apparently he's very successful as an entrepreneur. That microblading, if you don't know what microblading is, it's permanent eyebrows. I tell you, if you want to make money on the internet, appeal to one, male lust, and two, women's quest for beauty. Those ones are a surefire business ideas. Anyway, so the guy is always making fun of the poor. And this sparked a backlash from Kenyan TikTokers. Okay. They were like, it isn't entirely in their hands. So now there were two sides of the coin. That's the background, guys. And microblading by Sparky isn't the only person who's made this assertion. Many people across time have said it. Even Margaret Thatcher, Prime Minister in the UK, had called poverty a personality flaw. There's just these people, they are lazy, they are etc. So that's what we are looking at. But as is the norm, we look at both angles. We don't just concentrate on one. So there's the yes side. Are the poor to blame for their lot? Yes. Under yes, there are several reasons. I focused on 4, but if you guys can think of others, please bring them up. The 4 were: 1, a dependency mindset; 2, alcohol or drug misuse; 3, unwise expenditure. You have very little, but you're spending it on the wrong things. And 4, unplanned children. You're bringing children into this world and you don't know how to feed them. So those are some reasons I came up with for why the poor are to blame. But if you can come up with others, please do so and I will dissect them. Then for the no side, no, the poor are not to blame for their lot. I wrote down about 5 reasons. One of them is the fact that they earn low wages, if at all they're working, because there are some who are unemployed. But the ones who are working, they earn very low wages. It's irregular. It's just barely enough to cover their basic needs. They don't have savings. Thus, they can't invest in a business to improve their lot, their lifestyle, and their earnings. They are trapped. They are trapped in that cycle. Another thing is healthcare costs. The way they say you are one health crisis away from poverty. Some of them got there because of a health crisis and our healthcare system. Another one is what was it? Debt or no credit. Yeah, that was another reason. So, and they don't have assets. They encounter predatory lenders who keep them in that cycle. They charge them exorbitant interest rates and they're stuck there. We also have no money to pay for training or skills acquisition, because it's the training, it's education and skills acquisition that can enable you to improve your earnings, to make more money. Yeah, so they don't have it. They're just trapped in that situation. Another one I can think of is the kadogo economy. Kadogo means small. So it's expensive to be poor. Things are sold to you at very high prices and they're low quality, so you have to keep replacing them. Those are the ones I came up with for no, the poor are not to blame for their lot. You guys can continue to add. So let's get straight into it, guys. Let's start with the yes side. Yes, the poor are to blame for their lot. As I mentioned, there's the issue of unplanned kids and okay, let's start with that one. Unplanned kids. What do you think? Is that a valid reason for the poor being guilty of their status in life? Yes, Polelang.
If you can look at the patterns, rich people automatically, when you start to be affluent, you'll have less children. When you are poor, you give birth a lot. And somebody, we spoke, we discussed this some time ago, and I remember somebody saying it's the behavior of the society as a whole. Their strength is going to come out of numbers, but the rich, it's going to come out of their assets. So there's that thing that is happening unconsciously. It's not even individuals that are pushing it. Just being in that environment forces you to have a lot of children because of that societal group thinking that you're unconscious of.
Hello, Dad. Is it network or you are finished for a long?
Oh, I'm done.
Dorokas, you are muted. Okay, let's hear from Murioki, as Dorokas confirm his microphone.
Thanks. For me, I'll say also having children, unplanned children. Like where I am, when I go up country, you find very young girls giving birth to kids, 2 kids. They haven't even finished school, and they're having kids. Some of them reached school, a primary level. They reach a primary school, and they're having kids. That's, of course, will lead to poverty. Thanks.
Sorry, Murioki, I don't understand. So children are having kids?
Yeah, kids having kids. They haven't finished school. They reach school of a primary level. They're very young girls. They're having children. So now those kids, they have no money, and now they're having kids. So of course, how do you raise kids when you're 23 years old, with no education, with no job, with no good job? Of course, that's poverty. Kids do not plan. Making sense?
Nyamazeni, naongea. Yeah, I understand now. Ondeve?
Okay.
Thank you, Stano. Yeah, the young lady, this is Ndeve now, not Muriuki. I am going to say that we all obviously we understand that poverty or richness they are very, very complicated. In fact, when I saw this topic, I thought, why touch this thing that is so complicated? But when I started looking into it, I realized, yes, it is complex, but you can easily strip it or rather remove some of the things and be left with not exactly a skeleton, but some things that we can get hold on to. For example, I'm going to start with saying that poverty can be determined by where you start in life. If you start in a family of 20, in a 1 acre plot, that is where you start in life. And where you go from there can be, sometimes we can actually just say, yeah, we can see where you are going to go. But you might not go where we are thinking, because there might be somebody in that 1 acre plot who understands numeracy, who understands numbers. And understanding numbers is not just being able to count from 1 to 1,000. And that is a very good thing. In fact, I realized that later, that I went to a school where we were not counting. I don't even know what we were doing up to standard 3. We were not counting. And I go to another school and I find they count. That's where you start being taught numeracy, numbers. And to tell you the truth, if you don't know numbers, you can make $1 million, but somebody else, your agent is going to walk away with it because you are illiterate. You are enumerate. You are illiterate in numbers. And why I'm saying that me being learned in numbers is that there is a mama in the market who knows that putting 1 shilling on the side every day counts. At the end of the year, she has got a number of shillings sitting somewhere. That is being numerate. That is knowing. That is the art of knowing numbers. And there are people who do not know numbers. And I'm going to tell you why those numbers count. You have heard of people who win millions of dollars. I'm not talking of shillings. I'm talking millions of dollars. And in a year, when you have had $300 million, in a year, you end up with nothing. You end up with loans, or rather with the debts, and all that money gone. What does that mean? You actually do not know numbers. If you knew numbers, you would know that even if it is $100 million, if the sign is always minus, that is not good. So, and I'm not blaming them. I'm just saying that these people they do not know numeracy. I might have had an advantage that one of my parents knew something about putting away a cent. And we were ignorant enough. We did not take the money that was put aside. It was always in the open, but we never took it. But that's a story for another day. The other thing that I was going to mention is the understanding of money. That if you have money, you can make money. But if you have no money, it is so hard to make money. You can have all these ideas, but it is going to be very hard to make money. It is not impossible, but it is going to be much harder to make money. So is it the fault of the people who are poor? It is really hard to find where but as we go along, maybe I will choose a side. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ndebe, for that contribution. You have actually preempted the discussion by going to the no side, where we are saying, no, they are not to blame, because you mentioned the lack of education or lack of a particular skill necessary for financial success. And you also talked about not having money to make money. this is pivotal. You know, it's a vicious cycle. So yeah, we will explore that again when we get to the no side. We are still looking at, yes, the poor are to blame for their lot. And one reason often touted is having unplanned kids. That's the issue we are talking about. So let's hear from Mary.
Hi, good evening.
Evening.
Hi. So, when I think about it, I feel like it's kind of a cycle because if you're poor, your probability of getting a lot of kids is higher. So, and after you get a lot of kids, chances of you becoming poorer and the children becoming also poor is higher. So, I think it's a cycle. And I don't necessarily think that getting a lot of kids is what will bring poverty, but it's something that leads to poverty and then it becomes a cycle. Yeah. And then I don't think the poor are to blame for becoming poor, because I think it's the rules, the situation, the environment, the nature, things that they are exposed to. So I don't entirely think they are to blame, but they have a yes, that's my contribution.
Mary, if I may ask, now that you have declared your loyalty or where you stand, if they are not to blame, we are specifically looking at that one point of having unplanned children.
Mhm.
If they are not to blame for their lot, then did they have those kids by accident? Didn't they?
You know what?
Do it deliberately?
It's I don't want to say they usually have the kids by accident. They have to like get into their little world. I don't think they even think before they get the kids. I think they find themselves in that situation of getting the kids. You see, poverty doesn't allow them to even make a choice of getting of getting kids. It's just the way you find yourself that you're supposed to maybe wake up at 8 and it's the rule, it's what you found people doing. So I think they just find themselves in the mix or in the nature of getting the kids. Because ideally you can even you ask them why you not using family planning. Even places like Samburu, where the family planning is free, people come to their doorstep to force them to have family planning, but they don't have a reason as to why they are refusing the family planning. I think it's just something in the head. It's not I want to say that it's not their wish. They just find themselves. You see?
I'm having a hard time not pointing a finger. It's their sperm and their egg, and they're making that decision. Whether it's out of ignorance or wrong choices, it's their fault. But it's okay. Thank you, Mary, for your contribution. Yes, I see Morioki's hand is up. Then after Morioki, we'll have Bolelan.
Thanks, Dorcas. Dorcas, like I always say, if we're in Kibera, I'm a Madare, I'm a Dandora in a room, a man and woman, of course you'll get kids. Thanks.
Morioki. I have issues with that simplistic take because there's this little thing called a contraceptive. We can be in the same room, a man and a woman, we are married, and we use contraceptives. So why is it that the poor are not using contraceptives, yet some of them have very low prices or they are even free? Anyway, let's hear from Bolelang.
I agree with Mary that they're not in total control of their choice to have children. We are the products of the environment that we are shaped in. So if you come from an environment where children entertain themselves with sex and parents are too busy working maybe 12 hours, 15 hours per day, and they're not with you, you are not going to be the same as a child that comes from an environment where the father and the mother are home, and it's only the servants that work for them in their businesses that are not home. The other one is going to have better direction in life than the one that are left to fend for themselves because they're in a congested area, their parents are not there. So in fact, these children are bringing up themselves and they are telling themselves things that are not even correct. I remember as a child, we believed that if you have sex with a person once, you won't get them pregnant. It's when you do it repeatedly with the same person that you get pregnant. And that thing, we thought it's like that. It was funny when I'm thinking about it when I grew up that, hey, we used to believe this, but not because it was like that, but because the people around you tell you that. Another myth that they would say before having sex with a girl, you must go to the toilet and urinate. So you won't make that person pregnant. But parents are not around when you are taught these things in the streets. And one day you see, hey, the lady is pregnant, and they say it's you, and you refuse. So no, it's not me, because in your mind, you know, I slept once with this lady, and I went to the toilet and urinated before. It can't be me. So there's misinformation that happens because of children being in an environment where parents are not present. So poverty has a way of multiplying itself because of these environments that we see. Miroki talked about people finding themselves in the same place. Yes, poor people also, they will find it a bit difficult to find money for the taxi to go and take the injection for the contraceptives. Sometimes they were frustrated and having problems, and they forgot that it's that day of the month that they are supposed to go and take the injection for contraceptives, because in the poor community, the injection is better than them taking tablets. Tablets are something for the elite. So they cannot be blamed for the things that are shaped by the environment. Where they start to think differently because they are exposed to people who are thinking differently, the behavior will change. But as long as they are still in an environment where misinformation is spread as facts, they will continue being victims. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Bolelang. That aspect of them even not having money to buy the contraceptives or go to a healthcare facility that offers them is indeed true, because there are some families that are so poor, they have to make a choice of whether to buy water or to buy food with the meager earnings that they made that day, if at all they made anything. So they just live from hand to mouth. They can't afford anything extra apart from the basic needs themselves. So yeah, I hear you on that one. I see ex-pastor's hand is up. Go ahead, Stano.
I just want to add about the compatibility. sometimes we lack knowledge or we are not informed. So you find the couple are getting maybe disabled person that will consume a lot of money in hospital treatment and taking care of that patient because of lack of medical attention to see whether they are compatible. So that can also add the poverty to the family, although it's very rare. So other thing is what the other have mentioned. You are born in a poor family, so it's very hard, or the probability of becoming success or moving away from the poverty will be very low. The probability is very low. Thanks.
Stano, what did you mean as in compatibility in terms of what? In terms of health?
Genetic, yeah, in terms of health, like genetic, maybe you find because of the couple are not compatible, they end up getting a disabled child or with a certain limitation.
I see, yes. And that tips them further into poverty. Okay, great. Thank you. So let's think of the next one as I make my contribution on this particular subtopic. The next reason that people in the yes camp, the people who blame the poor for being poor, use is a dependency mindset. They have a dependency mindset. You've heard of the begging culture in Nigeria. When Aisha Speed visited that country, everybody was just begging him for money instead of celebrating his visit. Some of you know of black tax, etc. So what do we think? Is that a valid reason to blame them for their lot, for their poverty? As you think about it, here is my take on unplanned children. I'm a fence sitter on this topic. I think there are valid reasons for pointing fingers at the poor, and I think there are valid reasons for blaming their system. But on this one, honestly speaking, I think they are to blame. As somebody once said, ignorance is no defense. If you have sex with somebody and it's unprotected, do you think you're going to make mandazis from it? You're going to make a child. And many poor people actually don't even have those children by accident. Some of them, a good number of them actually want to have children. It is their thinking that is flawed. Many of them, in Kiswahili we say, Mungu akikuletea mtoto, atakuja na sahani yake. For Bolelang, if God gives you a child, he will come with his own plate, right? They have that mentality. They assume that somehow things will take care of themselves, yet it is your responsibility as a parent to take care of the child. So they have a flawed mindset when it comes to planning for a child's life. Another one is they assume that their child will make it out of the hood, make it out of that cycle of poverty and rescue them. That they could become a doctor, a lawyer, a president, etc. But that mindset again is ignorant and it's ill-informed, because chances are that if you are born in a poor family, you will continue to be poor. You won't make it out. You won't rescue your parents because you won't have access to the things needed to become wealthy, like a good education, like networks, job networks, etc. Things that we are going to talk about when we get to the no side. You won't have those. So chances are you'll be condemned to the same lifestyle that your parents lived. But they don't think of that. They merely pop out babies. I'm thinking of a recent case on our socials here in Kenya. There's a boy called Kwambaye. I know he has a real name, but he trended because a boda rider was looking for directions, and he was giving him directions in a confident way, but with a thick tribal accent, thick Meru accent. He was so sweet and so confident. And then he was telling him, go to that place where you'll pass through Kwambaye. So Mbaye is some person maybe in the area where they live. So Kwa is of that place. So the boy trended, and everybody realized that they live in abject poverty. They don't even have a bed. They sleep on a mattress. They sleep on clothes. Their toilet is some shack without a door. They just use cloth to cover it and all that. So um, that boy has several brothers, several siblings. The parent didn't care about whether they will be fed or whether they will be comfortable. She just continued to pop them. There was also another case of Tito, another child who trended this week. He's a 14-year-old who's taking care of his own siblings, and his mother is a single mother. She keeps cohabiting with men, getting pregnant, and then sending the kids back to their grandma in the village. Yeah. So I cannot say this woman is guilt-free. She's the one popping those babies. She's hoping that maybe the child will cause the man to provide for her, but it's not working. Clearly, there are 4 kids, and she's not able to take care of them. It's the 14-year-old boy who was taking care of them. So for me, I think having unplanned kids is strongly an indication that they're to blame for it. Let's hear about the other factors or the other topics. So yeah, let me hear your perspective, guys, on the next one, which is a dependency mindset, or anything to do with the mindset, somebody who is just waiting for things to be done for them. Yeah, they're not taking initiative. What do we think about that one? Is that a valid reason or not? Yes, Morioki.
Thanks. Like this election time is crazy. We are nearing elections. So like even in a country, somebody came, then everybody went to see the person. I won't mention the name. There was nobody, everybody went to see this person to get miambili, just 200 shillings. So you leave your house because this politician has promised you 200 shillings. So that's a very bad mindset. Even just you go to somebody just to listen to him because he'll give you a handout of money. That will keep you poor. Thanks.
All right. Yeah. In the election cycle, that's very common. Next is Endeavor.
Thanks, Dorcas. Now, in as far as mindset and dependency is concerned, I think I'm going to take the mindset of a society. I think, okay, let me just say that. So somewhere in the mindset of, I think it was maybe because of the colonialist or whatever it was, parents got the mindset that even if they were not literate themselves, their children needed to go to school. Somewhere, maybe it is only in my village, somewhere that mindset seems to have been displaced by that money can be got, I fail to understand. I will stay in my village for days and days and still do not understand why people lost the mindset of actually taking their children to school and concentrating on their education. Now, given that there is also the fact that there are very many educated people who don't have jobs, but if the first idea of taking somebody to school was so that they may be employed, then there is a problem with the education system, because even if somebody that is educated has not been employed, that person, if they got the right kind of education, they can employ themselves. Let us first of all agree with that, because yours truly, found themselves that they had to employ themselves. So I think somewhere in the employment system, in the Kenyan system of education, something happened that is a problem. So I'm now going to exonerate the people of Kenya who are suffering, because they were never told that actually you can go to school and you can actually employ yourself and employ others in the process. So that is one thing. And the other thing about mindset of the society that brings you up is, if the society that brings you up keeps saying that you have to have 20 children so that one of them can be president, then people continue having 20 children. Because if you don't have 20 children, you are not increasing your probability of producing a president. But then I do not understand why that probability only stays in that the probability of only one succeeding, and they do not understand that even the one that can succeed can be the only child as well. It is, if it is just a probability, and we know how probabilities work. So long as the probability is not zero, it can work. It can come to you. But and so I am saying that there can be a poverty mindset, and if a society has got that kind of mindset that multiplies itself, and the problem in that mindset keep multiplying themselves, then that society has got a very big problem. You are going to shackle the people in that society, in that kind of mindset, because there is somebody who just said that in Samburu, they have got all these services, but they will not take them. It might as well be that the colonialist might have told our foreparents that here is education, we are building some schools for you. And then we decided, nah, we don't want to take our children to school. So that is why I'm saying that unless something, you get that critical mass of people who are thinking different, who want to take up something different and walk away with it. But unless and until that critical mass of people is reached, a critical mass of people say, no, I am responsible for the children that I give birth to. I can decide to do whatever I am doing and not produce children. Because, hey, by the way, this thing was never for producing children in the first place. Because we know even for the religious people, it was never for producing children. So you can still go ahead and have your fun and not produce children, because we do have the mechanisms and the possibilities of having fun and not producing children. But we need in the society a critical mass of people who know, and it will have to be the generation Z that decide that no, we don't have to have children every time. We are not Catholics that to produce children every time, that it will only go have fun only when we have to produce a child. So yeah, so yes, society, I think the society is also having a problem in producing, multiplying poverty. Thanks.
All right. Very interesting perspective there on a poverty mindset and how we choose to ignore solutions even when they are brought to our those steps. I see Moroki's hand is up. Wandalo, welcome. I had seen your hand was up at some point. Don't be shy.
Oh, yeah. Hi, guys. I hope you are all well. Yeah, on the issue of poverty, I don't have much to say. I think it's complicated. Yeah, I don't think it's a formula on like you are hardworking and you are rich, or you are lazy and you're poor. I'm just making a general statement because we know so many people in our country who have a lot of money and we know where they got it from. At the same time, there are people who are poor because of it was stolen from them. So I think it's complicated, but at the same time, there are those who are lazy and that's why they're poor. So I think the only thing I wanted to comment on was the Proverbs passage that says a little slumber, a little folding of the hands, and poverty comes to you. So like, I guess the Bible just does comment on that hard work is something that should be emphasized, and I believe we as Christians should emphasize that hard work ethic, and I think one can even see it from there are many who've tried to pinpoint like places where Christianity has gone to, like it has emphasized hard work. Those who have not taken such scriptures seriously have ended up being lazy, having a mindset of there are those who think that having faith means that you don't have to work hard. But of course, there are verses that would show otherwise, like faith without works is dead, things like that. So I think generally, people who work hard will not be poor. But now, the same Bible gives an example of people who were actually very faithful and still poverty hit them. Like even Paul struggled with a lot of issues, despite the fact that he had faith. So like, I think it's not even a matter of having faith and you will not be poor. I know there are those people who think that, but the Bible doesn't really teach that. So like, I think there is no general statement that even can be made about poverty. I think what we can just do is help one another get out of poverty. But now I think maybe what I would say maybe in a grander scale would be that I think the Christian worldview gives us a reason why it would be objectively right to help get people out of that poverty. And so that one can be a blessing to others. Because now the ultimate goal of life is to love your neighbor and God. But I'm just thinking on naturalism, it would be, yes, a naturalist can definitely work hard, be wealthy, can even encourage someone else to be wealthy. But now, since life is ultimately meaningless, it won't really matter. Like if you die rich or poor. In fact, if you die rich, it's a real problem because now it's all wasted. And most likely it's someone who is poor, doesn't know how to take care of your riches, who will take over and just squander your wealth. So like, I think on naturalism, as much as it's possible to be a naturalist and advance, I guess, capitalism or maybe riches for people. But now I think it would not be consistent with the worldview itself, I would say. So that's the only thing I would comment in terms of like, but I know maybe that's not the angle that you were planning to go. I was just trying to think about it. I'm thinking actually on the top of my head. I hadn't even planned what to say. But yeah, so that's what I would say. But I think as atheists and Christians could agree that we can work together to kill poverty, and don't necessarily have to judge someone that, you don't have money, it's because you're just a lazy person and you're no good. It's never that simple. Yeah, so that's all I have to say. Actually, nothing else.
Okay. Thank you, Wandalo. Wandalo just had to smuggle God and Christianity and the Christian worldview into this
What
discussion.
can I say? I'm a preacher.
He's evangelizing. He's evangelizing. I will not even respond to that. But if somebody feels like they can, it's just that he has digressed. He's gone to other things when we are just focusing on whether the poor are to blame. It doesn't matter what your religious belief is in this context. So it was Morioki and then ex-pastor.
Yeah, thanks, Dorcas. Just a comment. I know of somebody who said he wants to have kids so that his name can live on. So that when he dies, he had no money, but he said if he has many kids, his name will live forever. So that was his aim, his name not to die. Thanks.
Imagine your name dies, but is that legacy even worth it if you can't even put food on the table? Some legacies ought to die. Anyway, thank you, Morioki. Next is ex-pastor.
Hello? Okay. Mine, I just want to comment about the poverty, about the laziness and the handworking, just the way Wandaro have saying. Some people are handworking, but because of unfairness or criminal activity in our world, and mostly in third world country, we find out the rich or those who have power, they are coming to exploit the weak. That is why you find the poverty increases because of corruption and because of injustice. So it's not because of laziness, but because of those injustice. And another thing is about the luck. You can work hard, but the luck is not on your side. And the other person is working little, but the luck is on his or her side. And that is why you find the difference. It's not because of laziness or it's not just because of handworking. Although we need to be handworking, but luck also come in place. And some people, when they get luck, they claim is they work smart. Yes, working smart is good than working hard, but sometimes those who term as working smart, you find out they are just doing some illegal things or it's just by luck. And they term it as working smart. So, but I want to comment about what Wadaro have said about the Bible encourage the people to work hard. And that is, I concur that is true because Paul was struggling for his own need and also to help the others. And he also say, those who do not work, they should not eat. I think it's in the book of Thessalonians. So if you don't work, don't eat. But at the same time, Bible is have double standard. The Bible also say in the Old Testament, don't struggle to wake up very early. It's useless to wake up early because God provide for his people while they are at asleep. So it's no need to work hard because God will provide for you even when you are sleeping. The same case Jesus say, don't worry about tomorrow. God provide for the advance. Why does he fail to provide for you? If he can provide for man, what about you? And you are his child. So this encourages people to be lazy or to be dependent on God or to be dependent to other people, claiming then God is sending the other people to help them. And that will promote some laziness and which will cause some poverty. So Bible have two-way side. It encourage handworking and it also encourage laziness through faith. Thank you.
Very well said. The concept of learned helplessness is often fertilized in religion, where people hope that by praying and fasting, God will rescue them out of their poverty. He will bless them. And that never happens, unfortunately. Thank you also for pointing out that bit about working hard versus working smart. There's a new school of thought that's coming in where people claim that it's not about working hard, it's about working smart. But what is that really working smart? It's about you leveraging on capital, or you leveraging on other people's labor. And for you to do that, you have to have money to begin with, which the poor don't. So that working smart isn't really accessible to all. It's not a fair playing field. Thank you, ex-pastor. Next is Cookie. Karibu sana.
Okay, before that, I can end by saying you can work hard and disease come. So you are hardworking, end up with death because of the sickness.
Indeed, indeed. Bad luck, misfortune can also play a significant role. Yes, let's hear from Cookie on that aspect of the poverty mindset or the dependency mindset. Is that a valid reason to blame the poor for being poor?
I would disagree with that. The poor, the term as poor people is very relative. We should view this like we are living in a capitalist society. There are people who will never be close to capital, and they will work very hard, harder than the CEOs are working. But because they are not very close to capital, they will remain poor for the rest of their life. The people who get lucky are 1% in the 99% who are very hardworking. So hard work does not reward you, because I know of very many hardworking people that their life has been in poverty and they don't have a chance because they don't have capital. So the fault is in the system that we are living in. Kenya as a country is not a poor country, but because of its position in the global capitalism system, the resources of Kenya will be deemed as less valuable as resources from other places, so that if you are exporting something, you feel like we are using more money, we are getting less value for what we are producing. As that cuts across to all the systems. So there are small farmers who put in a lot of work and a lot of time, but the people who will reap from it are the big corporations. And I know I'm generalizing, but it cuts across. So poverty is not a mindset, and wealth is not a reward for your hard work. There are very lazy people that are very wealthy, because they can cut corners and they are very close to capital. That's my submission.
Thank you so much, Cookie. Always a delight to hear from you. Indeed, that issue of having money in the first place is the bottom line. Let me also make my contribution on this point as we think about the next two subtopics under the yes camp, where we are saying, yes, the poor are to blame for their poverty. And one reason given is alcoholism or drug abuse. If you are engaging in those vices, then you are less likely to get out of your poverty. And another one is unwise purchases, that they are focusing on the wrong things, they are buying the wrong things. Like somebody might own a flat screen TV in Kibera slums, or in those misplaced priorities. I don't know. You guys marinate over them and raise your hands to contribute to those next two subtopics at once. Please, let's combine them so that we can move to the other side of the debate. On my view about the dependency mindset or the poverty mindset in general, I think that this one is relative. I think that the elite are the ones who like to use it in order to justify their position. And often they do it in the context or in the framing of laziness versus hard work. But hard work is not a prerequisite to wealth. If that were true, then the donkey would own the farm. When translated to human speak, the people that work the hardest are often the poorest, those minimum wage workers. That this person who works for 15 hours a day every day as a shop attendant, as kokoteni pusher, they work so hard. You know, they break their backs. Those construction workers, right here where I live, they're building an additional floor, and these guys have been working Monday to Monday, non-stop. But they are earning only 300 shillings a day. It's devastating, honestly. And these are people who have a family, they have kids. So it isn't true that it is the mindset alone that is necessary for you to get out of poverty or for you to become wealthy. Conversely, I want to acknowledge a small part that dependency plays, because you can get to a point where you just give up completely on fending for yourself and you decide to depend on others. We see this with black tax. If you've got relatives abroad, you just wait for them to send you something instead of using that something to create a sustainable business or enterprise. You instead use it for extravagant things, and then you remain dependent on them. We see it even when it comes to foreigners, like if foreigners come and visit, you ask them to leave you something. Or even when you go back to the hood, I told you guys I grew up in Eastlands, Nairobi, which is, I would say, relatively low income, the low income side of Nairobi. And sometimes I can go back to the estate where I grew up. When I meet my peers, they are just lounging. And they're like, hey, Dorasi uniangushie, kafinje ama kaso. Dorcas, please give me 50 bob or 100 shillings. Like, they're just there. They're just waiting for somebody to come and rescue them instead of doing something for themselves. Even if it's that back-breaking work, it is better to do the back-breaking work than to beg, to go around begging for assistance. And this is true even nationally. We have a dependency mindset. That's why we have a huge debt that is taking up a lot of our resources, our revenue as a country. It's keeping us from engaging in development. Yeah, so yes and no for me, that one. I'm seeing both sides. Yeah, so let's finish up on the yes side. Yes, the poor are to blame for their lot by talking about alcoholism or drug abuse and unwise purchases. What do we think about those points? Great. I see Deves and Muriokis. Let's hear from Deve.
Muriuki can go first. He's always a brief man.
Okay, Muriuki.
Thanks, Ndebe. Yeah, once again, I'll refer to where I am, up country. Those guys there, they work, like you're saying, for some money, and they go and drink. They go to the bars, they start drinking this brews, this illicit brews. Now, of course, you'll be poor forever. You get little money, then you go and drink. So, of course, that means poverty will never leave you because they do nothing constructive with what they earn. Thanks.
That is Morioki's take. In fact, in central Kenya, there's a serious problem of alcoholism among the men, among Kikuyu men and Kikuyu youth at that. Where? Let's hear from Ndeve.
Thanks, Dorcas. I'm going to go to wants and needs. I see. Yes. We have beggars, and but of course our beggars are maybe different. They don't look into God. They don't look out for God. They look out for me, and they like a visible minority. They like Black people because they know that we understand need. We understand the suffering more than it. I think you can understand why they would want, why a Black person or a visible minority would understand a beggar more than, yeah. And so the government will give whatever it gives for people who don't work and that kind of thing, or those who have issues. People. You see, sometimes poverty can also be due to your mind, like how a disability. It can be a physical, and it can also be a mental problem. And because here there's more chance of somebody to be diagnosed with a disability. And by the way, even with those disabilities, people who want to work, you're going to find that they will be hired. They will not be discriminated. They'll work. They'll be able to work and be upheld, to uphold that government, to hold that job, because it is in the interest of government that that person, even if they have got issues, they are able to work. So I'm going to say, so that person might have their income, and then they end up buying really funny things, but going to purchase their wants instead of their needs. Then they are broke. Then, of course, even if they work, they will be begging because you need food, or they'll go to the food bank. But it is still the same thing as begging. If you go to the food bank, it's the same thing as begging. Even though you might not look at it that way, it is still the same thing as begging, because the food bank is supposed to be used by people who really are, people who are in a real problem. Yeah, so I'm just saying that unwise purchase or unthought, a purchase that you have not really thought about. Like, can I save the money and buy it in 3 months? But, oh no, I want it now. Even if I have not paid my rent, I want it now. So then you could find yourself thrown out there, or you need to go beg for money so that you can pay your rent, not to be thrown out. Because if you are thrown out of your house and you have got your little job, you don't want that. You want to be able to be stable somewhere and go to. So I'm just putting it out there how unwise purchases, or people who have got impulse control due to a mental situation, can end up in a very funny situation. And sometimes even in Kenya, when you see people, or in Africa, when you see people in a grind, in poverty, sometimes if you look into their mentality, you can find something in their mentality that just the way they think might not lead to them being getting out of where they are. Because, for example, now I see a lot, even in my village, a lot of people think that to show off to the whole world that you have made it is to buy a car. That is the most bizarre thing I've ever heard, because a car is a consumer. It's not, it's like having a horse and you don't have a farm to plow, or you don't have a horse consumes a lot of food. But here are people thinking that they need to have a car. Oh, you need to have a car for what? I'm just trying to paint some of the problems that somebody can be in mental wise. Is it their fault that they are mentally not able to process life the way it is supposed to be? Maybe it is not their fault, but it is going to lead to poverty, definitely. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Ndeve, for those concrete examples of unwise purchases. Next is Cookie and then Bolelang.
I would have a different view on, let me start by the addiction part. Addiction cuts across all human beings, not just the poor. It's just that if you're poor and you are addicted to substance, it affects you more as compared to the rich people. But the rich also do drugs and are, how do I say this? They make bad decisions and they make bad purchases, but they have money that they can replenish what they have spent on. And they can go to rehabilitation centers, the things that poor people cannot afford. But addiction is not a cause of poverty. Addiction cuts across all human beings. Same, I would say, consumerism. If you are putting your priorities in purchasing things and you don't have good, adequate education, which you will get mostly if you are poor, your priorities won't reflect the things that you really need. So I'll blame the system and not the individuals making the decisions.
Okay. Cookie sees it differently. Thank you. Next is Bolelang.
Oh, yeah. People who are well-to-do in life, they have options. If they feel bored, they can switch the channel, and they have movies, whatever, on their channel that they can choose. They can go for a drive in the countryside and do it. But for a poor person, every time it's weekend from Friday, they meet friends and it's drinking while at that. Saturday, they meet again, drinking. Sunday, they're drinking again with friends. Then they go to work and they're a bit tipsy because of a hangover. Then when they come back Monday also evening, they say, well, let us just take this hangover. And those are 4 days of drinking because you are doing cheap entertainment. Because it is cheap. When you look at alcohol, alcohol caters for all income levels. Then there's low quality alcohol also that is bought by the poor people, and which is a more what is that? It has a more hook into alcoholism than the expensive ones that the rich people buy. I mean, if you and by the way, I'm talking about different currency. Rands are useless when I'm talking to people in Kenya. But there's a bottle of alcohol. When you have bought it, you want to drink the whole bottle. that's the one that the rich person buys. You will just take 2 tots. And there's another one that is bought by poor people. You can buy 4 bottles. They are cheap, and finish all those 4 bottles of it. So it's different type of drinking when you look at different groups. So the question is, who's to blame? Who created the environment where there are so many shebeens and taverns in poor neighborhoods? And when you go to affluent neighborhoods, you find that the density of pubs is not as much as the taverns and shebeens in the poor areas. Who hands out these licenses to people who are selling this? And also there's an element of also poor people disregarding the law because they're trying to make a survival there in the slums. Sometimes they don't even get those licenses. Police can't come and monitor it because their cars can't come in there because there are not roads. We have what we call machochombe here in South Africa, shacks. Those shacks, they don't have routes to get in there for them to be monitored. So there are certain things that are really based on the system itself. And people who stay in that area, they find that they get hooked into that type of lifestyle. If you are living in a different suburbs, you've got Karen there. I had somebody talking about Karen, saying Karen is a good suburb. Let's say you stay in Karen. You have different type of friends and different type of activities than when you go and stay in the slums, and everybody there, their entertainment is alcohol and nothing else. Then which one that I wanted to talk about is gone. There's another one that I wanted to talk about but I'm not holding a pen today. Then I'll remember it. We're talking about alcohol, and we're talking about
unwise purchases.
The purchases. Poor people also, they have a need to affirm themselves, show people that we are humans also. I have a status. If you are a rich person, you wouldn't trouble yourself to show off about a skipper, a t-shirt that is worth a couple of $100. But if you are poor, and that's the only thing that can make people respect you, you'd save money so that you get this t-shirt that has a brand, and you wear it because you want people to see you that you matter, you have something, or maybe expensive shoes. When you look at people dressed up here in South Africa, I know the poor ones dress much more better than the rich people. The rich people, they just get a denim and a normal t-shirt, but they've got food at home. They've got a beautiful house that they stay in, and the poor person wants to be seen, and they are going to get these things that are expensive, but they don't have a proper house to stay in. They stay in a shack. And buying a car, as Endeavor has said, it's a big thing because it's seen outside by other people. And they don't have a house, but because the car goes to people, they can go out and people see them, and they are looking for respect because there's something lacking in their lifestyle. And they were not offered this opportunity. And now that thing then makes them sink deeper and deeper, like in a quicksand. So you need to be in an environment that is going to make you think differently, to talk, have discussion, conversations with people that think differently. But if you don't, you are stuck in that because people will be praising you for buying a car, something that is not worth praising. On Facebook, we bought a car recently. I think it's 2 weeks or so. that post has a lot of people congratulate. I don't need to be congratulated for buying a car. There are good ideas that I talk about with people. You find that 2-3 people respond, but on that one, there's a long list of people. Congratulations, and I don't even know how to answer because it's not worth congratulating. How do they know that that car is going to be repossessed in 12 months or so? I don't know. I find it very challenging how when you are in a poor environment, you find yourself thinking differently like that.
Wow. Yes, yes, yes. Social media is wired to attract that kind of attention if you post that kind of content. So I hear where you're coming from. People don't want knowledge. No, they just want to see the lifestyle. Yeah, thank you for that. So let us now shift. Let us now shift to the no side. No, the poor are not to blame for their lot. And some arguments that have been floated, or one of them is low wages, low wages, so low earnings, or for some even no earnings, low wages or irregular wages. Today you might make something, tomorrow no, the other day no, the other day yes. So how does that affect their image or their responsibility for their poverty? As we think about it, let me give my contribution on this last subtopic in the no side, no, in the yes side, which is alcoholism, substance abuse, and unwise purchases. I agree with what most of you have said, in that for alcohol use, I think that sometimes when you are so miserable, you need a coping mechanism to help you forget your troubles. And alcohol or drugs is a convenient tool. I'm not excusing poor people who abuse alcohol. I'm just saying that alcoholism is often an offshoot of poverty rather than a cause. However, as somebody said earlier, poverty is complex, and sometimes the effect can become the cause. Yeah. In as much as it can be a coping mechanism, it would continue to worsen your situation because you're taking the little earnings that you have and you are directing them to a very useless endeavor. Because at the end of the day, you make that choice. No one is forcing you. No one is coercing you into taking the alcohol or the drugs. It is you who makes that choice. And there are some poor people who choose not to take alcohol. Okay? So the fact that some people can do it and others can't means that it is your choice, that the responsibility lies with you. So me, I'm reluctant to absolve poor people from blame who use their meager earnings on alcohol. Now, the other one is unwise purchases. I think this one is very evident in certain Black cultures, like African Americans, like the Congolese, and even Nigerians. Yeah, they like that flashiness. Yeah, in fact, there's a gentleman called Thomas Sowell who keeps talking about how Black culture leads to their low income status because they are the ones who buy designer outfits. They're the ones that focus on flashy things, bling bling, but they are not investing in businesses or in things that will get them out of their low income status. So that is true. Even here in Kenya, what Bolelang said in South Africa applies here, that there are a lot of poor people who spend money on flashy things, on cosmetics, weaves. I remember I was very shocked to see a beggar here in Gedorai 45 who has bleached her skin. So she has money to bleach her skin, but she does not have money to stop begging, to look for another method of earning a living. Misplaced priorities. It's because nobody teaches the poor financial literacy. So they're just going to focus on the here and now, immediate needs. So yeah, that's my take on unwise purchases. But I have to acknowledge that it's not all of them. Like that trending topic of Kwambae, the Meru boy, and his family, like those guys are in abject poverty. There's nothing flashy, no unwise purchases there. They just have nothing, really. So yeah, this is not true for all. It is true for some. We have to acknowledge that difference. So let's hear now about the no side. No, the poor are not to blame for their poverty. And one of these is because of low wages or irregular earnings. What do we have to say about that point? Yes, Murioki?
Thanks. I don't know what you guys think. How about genetics? Could genetics play a part? You find there are genes that are keeping this whole family poor from this generation to another generation. Is that possible? The gene factor. Thanks.
That one, outrightly, I have to say no. I have to say no. Let's hear from Deba.
I mean, it is something to think about, and I wouldn't say it is genetics as such. It is how you are bred, how you are raised. So if my mother kept on thinking the way her mother thought, and how the mother of it just keeps coming up, and we keep on thinking the same method, the way of thinking, then it can be a problem. Is it a genetic thing? There could be a mental issue, and that this is where my point comes in, to that our systems are not formed, okay, do not have room. That is, let us say that they do not have room for people that need more help. So, for example, let us say somebody is disabled in one way or another. Is there a system in place that, first of all, can analyze a child from very, very young? I have a child in my neighborhood, a sweet boy. He understands everything. He understands very complicated English. He understands, he's going to turn 3. He understands Chinese because one of the parents is Chinese, but he doesn't say much. You tell him where is Ndeve, point at me, but he's not going to even attempt to say Ndeve. He will not even attempt to say mama. So the doctors have been on him, like analyzed everything, checked everything. They said he's okay. So we do not have systems that check somebody to see if that person is okay, if everything is okay. If not, what can we do from early on in life to start helping them? If it is mobility, if it is mental, if it is in emotional, so that somebody can be helped to be as good, to be as productive, to be as to reach their capacity, whatever that capacity is, to reach it, not just to for the government, not to the governments. I'm going to say governments because it is all kind of governments that should be involved to be able to come in and to help this person. Then there's also the education, the kind of education that people are getting. I do not know what to say, but maybe it could be just some schools in Kenya do not produce people. I find that the schools in the villages, they probably, I've been wondering whether schools in Kenya do not get the same amount of funding allotment, or why it is that most the product of the people in the village is just the education system in the schools, in the local schools in the village, is not very, very good. So that could also be that the education system has I don't know if it has relaxed, or there really is something that is going on that, and I would worry. I wouldn't say that it is probably only the village schools. I'm going to say, oh, help me. I'm just going to say, so what is the quality of the engineers and the doctors we are producing? So I'm just saying that because it is an observation, something that I have observed as sometimes I have people that come here from over there, and then you have to put them in the system. And when you have to put somebody who has come from Kenya into an English school here, so that they have to reach up, they have got to catch up with their English, then I think there's a problem. So I'm thinking that the education system also has got some catching up to do. It is responsible for some of that poverty. I'm going to say, so Minister of Education, hey guys, catch up. Thank you.
All right. So Ndeve has killed two birds with one stone. She has talked about the low wages and access to education, because it is a great stepping stone out of poverty. Any other person on low wages before we proceed to the next point? Any other person?
And Dorcas, when you say low wages, are you saying that the wages are not can't cope with the life, like the cost of living that somebody is getting? Or you are saying that people, when they look at their wage and they look at Dorcas's, okay, they look at Dorcas's wage and Mary's wage, and Mary looks at it and say, but I want Dorcas's lifestyle. You see, that is a bit different. So I'm just trying to say, is it the wage I want, or is the wage that I'm getting? Because people have always had wages that are not equivalent to their wants. Always.
Okay. Thank you for bringing that up. I think the one I'm referring to is the former, where you don't make enough to sustain you, like to purchase basic needs. You just don't have enough. So yeah, that's what I'm focusing on, not on keeping up with the Joneses or the Omondis for that matter. Let me make my contribution before we proceed to the next one, which is debt or access to credit, which is necessary for starting a business or making investments. If you want to get out of poverty, you need to invest, but you can't do that when you have no access to credit, or you are dealing with huge debts from predatory lenders. So that's the next topic we are proceeding to. Let me give my contribution on the low wages bit. At this one, I feel like it is so pressing when it comes to why the poor are not to blame. It's such a valid point. The capitalist system is set up such that laborers are exploited. Owners of capital will go for the bottom of the barrel. They'll pay you the least amount they possibly can. The law sometimes steps in and sets a minimum wage amount that should be equal to a living wage. But here in Kenya, the minimum wage barely keeps up with the living wage, and often it is not enforced, it's not respected. Like, it's what it was Labor Day yesterday, by the way. Happy Labor Day. Always, it's like every year on Labor Day, the president increases the minimum wage, but the amount that people earn per day or per month never changes. Or even if the minimum wage increases, it does not increase at the rate of the economic demands. Yeah, the cost of living, it does not increase at the rate of the cost of living, it doesn't keep up. So even if it increases, it's so marginal that they cannot earn enough to meet their basic needs. You are just struggling. Here in Kenya, what I've observed, I told you guys last year that it was my worst year. I had to start over after I lost my job that I had done. Not my job per se, but my career, because it became obsolete thanks to AI. I had to start over, and I needed to do minimum wage work. I worked as a waitress at some point in a very small hotel. I realized that what I was earning was the same amount that most minimum wage workers get in Kenya. It's usually 300 shillings a day. And that, that is not enough for food, for transport. Kwanza, once there is transport, you're just finished. You are finished. Transport and rent. You will most likely live in a substandard place, some ill-maintained house, because you are making 300 shillings a day. And that is for the one who is salaried. Now imagine you are a mama fua, you wash clothes, or you do construction work, you depend on a daily wage. Sometimes there's no work. You go to a construction site, they've already hired enough people that day. You go to a factory, they don't need manual laborers for the day. They already have enough. So that day you're going to go back home hungry. The money is too little. It's insufficient for you to take care of your basic needs. Now imagine if you have kids, yeah? You have kids, and imagine if you have an emergency. If something happens, like the floods, and you need to move all of a sudden, or there's a fire, like in Gikomba, we keep having fires all the time, or if you live in riparian land and they've decided to kick you guys out of that place, how do you start? Where do you go with that 300 shillings a day? So bottom line is that low wage and irregular earning is insufficient to meet your daily needs. On top of that, now you can't save anything, because it's the savings that will help you to start a business or to invest and eventually get out of your poverty status. That is a pipe dream when you're earning 300 shillings a day. So it's a poverty trap, in other words. That's the point I wanted to make. Okay. I see Bolelang's hand is up. Let's hear from you.
Oh, you mentioned something that really rubs me the wrong way. When you talk about the loans that are given to poor people by the loan sharks with very high interest rate, I think it's something that is illegal, but it's evading the officials. And that type of interest rate where a person borrows an amount, let's say 100 Rand this week, then next week they have to return it 200 Rands. If they only have 150, then the 50 Rand that is remaining the following week, now it's 100. I think that is killing people more than any other thing. And the people who are offering these loans, they get rich out of that because they offer it to a number of people. And their risk is very low because people are scared of them. If you don't pay, people come and do things to you that you will never forget them. You can even miss your life because you are unable to pay. So yes, that affects the poor people more than any other group of people, because other group of people, they can go to the banks and they can check their credit worthiness and then get the loans through the rating of the credit worthiness, and the interest rate are low, 5%, 7% annually. That is unfair, and it annoys me. I hate that one.
Oh, yes. I feel your pain, Bolelang. Let's hear from Debe.
Thanks, Dorcas. So I'm going to look at the wage. So the kind of wage that one gets and the ability of that person to save. So we know that rent is usually the biggest, or depending on where you are. Some people are lucky, maybe you work in your home and you don't pay rent. But for those people who pay rent, that is one of the biggest costs, expenditures. Now, if you decide, or if somebody decides that this is my level where I can live, but this is your income, you don't decide where you live. It is your income that decides where you are going to live. And there's also the possibility of somebody sharing. So if you're going to save out of that 300 shillings a day, it will dictate where you can live, and it will dictate that you probably have to share your living quarters. So I'm just working it backwards, or rather working it to save ourselves from by the way, it is something that I have done. so that way, that is the only way that somebody is going to save. And if you have only 300 shillings a day, you do not have options, but you can give yourself a chance, a fighting chance to jump out of the place that you are in. So and even here we do have options. There are people who work either they work with the government, and they live in basements. Now, basements, when I say basement, it is not the worst place, but they are some of the cheapest places that somebody can live in, because it is it's below the ground. But it usually it is made to be accommodating. You might have a side door and your own entrance. You have got your own, definitely you've got your own kitchen, and definitely you've got your own, most of the times you've got your own bathroom. It's livable, but it is the basement. It's going to be cheaper. It's something that I've done, and it gave me options where I had no options. And also when it comes to borrowing, banks, it is the same here. If you are working some of those jobs, or you are working under the table, a bank is not going to touch you, because if you're under the table, you don't pay taxes. If you don't pay taxes, well, banks are not going to touch you. They can see you've got money in the bank. I've been in those situations. And they said, well, we can see that, yes, that you have got the money. You probably can. I was trying to get myself out of a basement into something and start thinking, no, the bank going to touch me. Fortunately, something else worked, because if you have got a prepared, if you've been putting a shilling away, that opportunity is going to come. But if you've not been putting a shilling away out of that 300, that opportunity will pass you. Was only possible that because we were living in the basement and sharing a really small space, we had been able to put a shilling away. So an opportunity came that even if the bank couldn't touch me, another opportunity came, and I was still able to get a mortgage. I was able to get a mortgage from the seller of the place. And then down the road, we do also have lenders who are not the bank. They are B lenders, but they are not the overnight. They are not those overnight lenders. This one is a B lender. It is just a step out of the bank, but the interest rate is usually 1%. It will be right over here. Interest rates can be even 3%, but a B lender can be as high as 5%, which we consider as very high. Because if the bank is 3% or 2%, and this person is charging you 5%, but you will still be able to buy whatever it is you are buying, and then you try to get yourself out of that position, because it's not a forever thing. You don't have to stay forever with a B lender. You can pay them off, or you can eventually get yourself out of that situation and then get a mortgage from a bank. So what I'm trying to say is this: from that 300, the person that's earning that 300, it's low wages, okay, and I'm not a stranger to low wages, but that is what you have. That is what you can. That is the only thing that you can budget. You can't budget anything else. That is the only thing that you can budget. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ndebel, for that contribution. So we have 20 more minutes, because we started at 20 past, 20 more minutes to the end of the meeting. So we are going to speed through the remaining points. They include healthcare, insurance, or the high cost of healthcare for poor people because they don't have insurance. Another point is long hours and no money for skills training for education. And then a third point is the high cost of poverty, where you don't have access to bulk purchases and you have to buy low quality goods. So let's think of those three areas: healthcare costs, high cost of poverty, and long hours. where you don't have time to train or get educated so that you improve your lot. So let's think of those three. We compress them in our next contribution because we just have 20 minutes too. Let me give my take on this one of credit, of debt and access to credit. Why is it important to have access to credit? Because that is how you invest. That's how you make money. We are trying to get out of poverty. To get out of poverty, you either start a business or you invest in something. Okay? So, in order to do it, very often the wealthy or at least middle income earners get credit. They get loans in order to make investments. And the reason why they get the loans is because they have assets. They own assets and they also have good credit scores. But this is not true for the poor. They have bad credit. Many of them have already been listed with the CRB, so they can't go to formal financial institutions for assistance for these loans, and nobody wants to risk it with such an individual anyway. Somebody who does not have a consistent source of income. So they go to the predatory lenders, the payday lenders, or the mobile app lenders. And those people are vicious. They are merciless when it comes to their interest rates. We had this discussion some time back, and I was telling you guys how sometimes they charge close to 600% interest rates. The people that need to keep as much of their money as possible are the ones that are charged the highest interest rates, while the ones that already have the money are the ones that have access to low interest rates. They are also the ones that have access to tax, what is it called? Tax incentives. Yeah, they have access to tax incentives. Well, these are the earners, these are the low earners are taxed excessively. So it's really ironic. And that kind of predatory lending can keep you in a trap. You just earn and pay all the creditors that you owe, then you're left with nothing or very little to get by. So you won't even have anything at all to invest in. Likewise, because most poor people don't have assets, they don't have land, they don't have cars, they don't have things that they could use as security for loans, they can't get those loans to start those businesses or to make those investments. So they are stuck in their lot. It's very, very unfair, but that is the system. Now, let's hear about these three last points. The high cost of poverty. Yeah, it's expensive to be poor. Let's hear about that. Let's hear about healthcare. And let's hear about not having the resources or time to train, to educate yourself. Let's hear about those. You can pick one or you can talk about all very quickly as we prepare to wind up. Okay, let's go with the man of few words first, Morioki, then we'll hear from Polela.
Yeah, thanks. When you say it's expensive to be poor, I think of crime and poverty. Because at times, crime and poverty go together. So now all these things you have, people are being mugged. There's a lot of crime happening nowadays. I think that goes with poverty also, in my view. Thanks.
Mhm. Right. Let's hear from Bolela.
And also, when you look at the type of diet that people in poverty are eating, then it drops them another important thing in life, being the health, the vitality of living and being able to be healthy, to create more wealth out of your own energy. So they would also spend time for medicals and days off and being sick. Whereas a person who is well to do will be able to eat better, go to the gym, exercise, and from time to time, maybe every year, go for medical checkups and catch up diseases before they even become detrimental to them. So yes, it is expensive to be poor because when health comes back and takes what you owe it because you have not been taking care of your body, then you die young or you become a sickly older person compared to the people who had an opportunity to take care of that body and grow old being healthy.
Wow, very pertinent matter right there. Another source of the vicious cycle. Yes, let's hear from Teve.
Thanks, Dorcas. So, because of the aforementioned reasons of health, if the poor had a little, like people had some income coming from the government to them, which of course they are going to spend and put back into the economy, it would give them the thinking, little space for thinking. Because if you know that at the end of the month, you will get so much that you can pay rent and you can buy food, it gives you a thinking space so that your ideas can be more, can come to the service. You are not just thinking food. You are thinking, okay, food is sorted, rent is sorted, but I have got some things that are not sorted. Let me now go find the things that are not sorted. So it gives you a thinking space. If you do not have that, even that little income, guess what you don't have? You don't have thinking space. You can even get totally blocked, or with all your thinking options are non-existent because you're disabled by the fact that you don't have a single cent. You don't have a single way that you'll pay your rent. You don't have a way that you will pay, you'll buy your food. So you all your thinking is completely lost. You are not able to think. Even if you are able to think, you are not able to think straight. And that is why people will end up doing this petty thieving and probably injuring and maiming other citizens because you're just looking for food. You're not thinking beyond, you're not thinking of the life of this person. You're just thinking how to get a slice of bread. And so that's why I think that it is very expensive for the citizens and for the government not to have so many people only thinking about a slice of bread, not giving themselves, like their minds have been reduced so much. It is so much, like that is so much thinking capacity that is destroyed. Thank you.
Aha, very well said. That point is so crucial because poor people are on a crisis mode, a permanent crisis mode. They're stressed persistently because they're thinking, how am I going to feed myself? How am I going to feed my family? How am I going to protect myself from homelessness? Yeah. When the floods come, what is going to happen? It's just, oh, you don't have any mental bandwidth to be creative, to be solution oriented, to be an entrepreneur. There's no room for that. You're just on survival mode. So yes, you're so right. On that end, Deve has even given us a solution. So as we close the meeting, I'd like to hear your concluding remarks. Given those points that we've made, do you think the poor are to blame for their lot? And even if you say yes or no, what are some solutions? As we've been discussing them, what were the root causes and how do we solve them? What are some solutions that we can implement in order to deal with this malady? Let me give my contribution on those last three subtopics as you think about your closing remarks, guys. So, healthcare, long working hours, and not having enough money to, enough time or money for training and skills acquisition. And the other one was, what was it? Okay, I'll remember it as we continue. Even me, I've not written down anything. I'm just talking off the top of my head. I did my research, but I stored everything in my head. Very bad mistake. I should be writing down what I learned. Are the poor to blame for their lot? We are looking at the no side. No, they're not to blame because of systemic issues. So one systemic issue is healthcare. Healthcare costs. You've heard of that thing that you are just one healthcare crisis from poverty. There are some people who felt sick. They were okay previously. They fell sick and they became poor. Yeah, because you just can't afford to take care of yourself when you are sick, and you can't afford those costs. You don't have insurance. You don't have the money to pay insurance premiums. So you just get lost in the system. And that's something that is beyond the control of the individual. This is a systemic issue. It is a government issue. We should have some sort of universal health care. Right there and there, then I've given a solution, universal health care for that issue. The other point is working long hours and not having enough resources for skills acquisition or training. As I said, for most minimum wage work, your employer wants to extract everything from you. You know, they want you to come in the morning. They want you to close at 9. When I was a waitress, that was my life. I'm so tired. I'm on my feet the whole day. By the time I go back home, I don't want to think. I can't think. I just want to sleep so that I wake up the next day very early in the morning and go back to work to make my boss more money. So there's no time to think. There's no time to learn a skill, even using the internet, YouTube academies and what have you. There's just no time because your employer is hogging all your time, right? Then, of course, you don't have the resources. You don't have the money. You're making 300 shillings a day. Where are you going to get money to pay for a course that will help you to sustain yourself, to make more money? You can't. You are trapped. Yeah, that's another element. Then the other one, which one did I say? Gosh, why am I forgetting the last point? It will come, or probably somebody has addressed it. Oh yes, the high cost of poverty. That was the other point. I think the rich, being wealthy is awesome. Aki, money solves 90% of human problems, I tell you. So being poor is expensive. You buy things that are of low quality. They need constant repairs. Look at my phone. It always has issues. Every time I get paid, I have to go and take it to the repairman to fix it. For me, if I just bought a quality phone, I wouldn't be having these issues, but I don't have the money. I don't have the money to buy a quality phone, so I just have to go those bit by bit. I have to do the patchwork, so to speak. The same is true for groceries. We can't buy in bulk. When we are low income earners, you buy small, small things, and they're usually very expensive. Yeah, so I think that all those factors keep you trapped in poverty. Finally, guys, let's hear your closing remarks. We have 5 minutes to end the meeting. Let's hear your closing remarks. Where do you lie? Do you think, given this discussion, that the poor are to blame for their poverty, or they are not to blame? It's the system that has set them up to fail. And if so, what are some solutions? Yes, let's hear from Muriuki first, because he's a man of few words.
Yeah, I think I mentioned earlier where I stay, the kids don't finish school. They leave school very, very early. So that lack of education is really contributing to poverty. They don't see the value of going on with their studies. They leave school early, they get kids, so they are stuck. Thanks.
So a solution would be?
Education, the people should finish school, get a career.
Mm-hmm. Okay, education. Muriuki's a solution is education. Let's hear from Bolelang.
We have been misled by the people who are currently controlling the system, because already they have gathered most capital to themselves. So much capital that when you try to achieve that, you cannot achieve it in a clean way. So these people make us believe that the only way to succeed is to be an individual, to pursue the capitalist way of doing things, of gathering things for yourself at the expense of others. That is not true, but we are in such a deep state of holding that belief as true as individual, and that is why we are getting more and more people that are poor, and we are doing nothing about it, because the ways of working together as groups in communities that are supporting each other, in communities that have common grounds. For instance, during the time that people had livestock, there would be an area where everybody can take their livestock for grazing. And from time to time, these areas are moved around. But as it is now, we know there are farmers who buy hectares only for their cattle. But it was not like that before. It was a shared common space before, where people in a community share wealth with each other. When they see that that family doesn't have wealth, then they borrow them cows, a female cow, when to take care of it, and when it has calves, the calves belong to that person, and he returns the cow. Such things don't happen now, because people just want money for themselves. Somebody is the richest person in the world, and they take another person to court because they want to sue them for millions again, on top of the billions that they have. We are lost in that fashion, and we have to wake up that we have been misled and start to look at better ways of dealing with this monster of poverty, but working as communities.
Oh, sorry, I was talking to myself. Thank you, Bolelang. You are advocating for a community-based approach because we've become too individualistic, and we are not looking at the system holistically. We are not realizing that the elite are hogging everything. Thank you for that contribution. Next is Ndebe.
Thanks, Dorcas. Yes, so help is not, would be nice to have help coming from somewhere, but we know that help is not coming. You can pray, you can fast, you can do whatever you want, but most likely help is not going to come. Help is going to come from yourself. It would be nice to get a helping hand. I remember one time when I was just getting used to internet. I needed, I really, yeah, I needed, and then I Googled, I said, I need a helping hand. I Googled helping hand, and yes, I found a helping hand. That is it's a kind of a bill lender over here. And yes, it was a very good helping. It was a good find. But anyway, so I'm just saying that many a time, no helping hand is going to be very nice if somebody could, take a hold of another person and help them out of a situation. It is easier said than done. So many a time we have to get ourselves out of whatever quagmire that we have, because that is the majority way. There are a few people out there that you can work with. I'm not saying that they are not there. I have worked with some people that are absolutely amazing. They got out of there and they showed me the back and they told me they have a goodbye. And that was really good, because that is a success story. That somebody has set themselves up. They are on their way. They are good and they're doing good. They can go and help somebody else. But most of the people, you will never even know who they are or what challenges they are. They might just even be needing something very, very small, but you will never get to know about it, because we are a big community. There's lots of people who have got lots of different needs. So I'm just saying that I really think that everybody is kind of on their own, unfortunately. And it should not be like that. The other thing that I have noticed is that when somebody who has been without money for a long time, when they get that money, no, they are not going to run for cooking oil fast and have a good amount of kilo of sugar or whatever. Maybe they will, and maybe they will. But because they've not been used to plenty, that can also become a problem. It's just my observation. You could be used to buying many things and still use them very, very wisely, because you are budgeting for the month. You are not you have the things there, but they are budgeted for the month. You don't have any extra. But when somebody that is not used to that sees that plenty, they cannot know what to do. They cannot budget for the month for that thing, because it's there. There is so much. What is the problem? What is the problem with you? The thing is there. There's plenty of it. We can throw away the rest. That kind of mindset. That mindset of budget is not there. It's just, I'm just talking about my observation. And the other thing, it becomes hard unless somebody. There are some people here that we call bean counters. So a bean counter, or rather it was an experiment that was done long time ago, that people who eventually become accountants, I don't know if there are accountants in the group, they were the child, or rather people who are able to save. They were the child that you got sweets last night, and this person today in the morning they still have a small piece of a sweet that they have been keeping for tomorrow. You know, that kind of a bean counter, or there's somebody that is able to say, to count their beans and say, I have got 2 beans for today, or 2 sweets for today and 2 sweets for tomorrow. That is what I'm talking about. That somebody who is not confused by having plenty. That way, you know, that way they can budget their money or things around. And the other thing is that there is now available, because we have got the phone. I think the technology now, people, because most people have got the phone, they have got technology in their hand. I think that technology has to be used wisely, be used for learning. I know that also counts for bundles and there's money to be put into it, but I think that technology has to be used wisely. Even if somebody is going to Facebook, people need to use that technology to help themselves out, even though sometimes it is for scamming. But I think people should use technology wisely to help their situation. Thank you.
All
Okay.
right. I hear you, Deve, on many of the solutions or many of the observations that you have made. Education is really key in the points you've made, and in the points many of you have made. I see Slim and Rachel who have just joined us. Welcome. If there's any contribution you have on the topic, please feel free to raise your hand and say it in a minute or less, because we're really out of time. That is if at all they want to speak. But as oh, okay, so Slim has raised his. Yes, let's hear from you, Slim, but keep it short and sweet.
Maybe for the solution bit, my solution is maybe for poverty, let's just give everybody the real opportunities. Let's give everyone real opportunities without the political imaginations. Yep, that's all I have.
Yay. Without political imagination. I wish you were here earlier. We would have delved a little deeper into that. So I hope I'm not locking out any other person, because I want to give my closing remark and then we end the meeting. Okay. Solutions. Okay. First of all, what is my verdict? Are the poor to blame for their poverty? No. According to the points we've heard from both sides of the debate, then no side is too compelling. Those systemic issues that keep poor people trapped in their position is too overwhelming for an individual to overcome. So no, they are not. For the most part, it is the system, and the system needs changing. That leads me to the solutions that I have. One of them is on family planning literacy. I believe educating people on different aspects, on economic skills, on financial skills, and also social skills is imperative. So one solution would be making people more literate about family planning. Let them not just leave it up to fate. Let's also challenge that mindset that your child will rescue you from your poverty. I think we need civic educators to do that. And we also need to make contraceptives free. Let's destigmatize contraceptives. Of course, this will be a tough act because of religion, but religion and other cultural norms, but it has to get done. You can't just continue bringing children into this world when you don't have a plan for them. Number two is a safety net. The safety net would be in healthcare. We need to have universal healthcare that would at least insulate people who fall ill and can't afford their medical care. The safety net should also include some sort of basic income. What Ndeve said, at least when you are assured of a monthly stipend somewhere, you can relax a bit mentally and you can have room to think, to imagine, to develop a business plan based on your interests and your passion, etc. At least you can have that luxury because you're not thinking of the next meal. You're not just living from hand to mouth. So a universal basic income is crucial to deal with that aspect. Also number three, enforcing minimum wage laws. We have been doing that. We've been increasing the minimum wage every year, every Labor Day, but it's not enforced. So we need to make sure all employers, especially for these small businesses, are not exploiting their employees. And we need to make sure that that minimum wage is equivalent to a living wage. Another solution is clamping down on predatory lenders. I think it's so unethical what they do. I have faced the brunt of that kind of behavior. So yeah, those are my solutions. Oh yeah, and finally, the one for skills. I think we need to set up vocational training centers that are funded by sponsors or by the state, such that people can join them for free, that they don't have to pay in order to go for those classes. That way they can learn a skill and open a business and do something with it. So yeah, those are my solutions. They're not easy. I don't know who is listening, which influential person is listening, but yeah, that would be a starting point. Thank you, everybody, for your contribution. Thank you, Bole Lang. It was a delight to have you. Thank you, Morioki. Thank you, Deve, ex-pastor at some point. Thank you, Cookie. We had something from you, even though you had to leave early. Thank you, Mary. There was also Wandalo who tried to preach to us, but we debunked his point using that same Bible that he quoted. But we still appreciate your presence. And any other person who spoke that I might have forgotten. Oh yeah, Slim said something towards the end. Thank you so much, everyone. Please remember, tomorrow is our hangout day. We are still 3,800 shillings short. If you have any money that you can contribute to our kitty, our pay bill, and our treasurer's number is on the flyer that we shared. Please, please, please. Every coin counts. We'll account for it. Kindly contribute. I would also like to remind you guys that for those who will make it, that Juliana donated some clothes. So I won't be able to carry all of them because there are really many. I'll carry about 40% of them tomorrow. So we'll be able to distribute to the ladies that will show up, or to the gents who have ladies in their lives. So yeah, that's something to look forward to. We meet at midday, Myra Residences in Kilimani. Guys, have a good night, good morning, or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. Bye.
Good morning. Bye.